Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now, I'd like to turn the call over to Ms. Crystal Jimerson. Crystal, you may begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on planning for community development. My name is Crystal Jimerson, and I'm a data dissemination specialist here at the U.S. Census Bureau. I want to thank you for joining us today for the It's All in the Tools webinar series. This new series was created by the Census Academy team here at the Census Bureau. You can register for any of the workshop webinars by accessing census.gov. We will post the workshops monthly. For early registration, just visit census.gov/academy. Please note the seating is limited, first come, first served basis. We think these hands-on exercise-based workshops will be a valuable opportunity for you to learn from our experts about how to access the Census Bureau data, tools, and resources. If you wish to follow along, take a moment now to open an additional browser to participate in the exercises. Before I introduce today's speaker, let's go over a few important housekeeping rules. As mentioned earlier, this webinar is being recorded. For your convenience, it will be uploaded to our Census Academy site with all supplemental materials relating to the webinar. In terms of how to ask questions during the webinar, you can submit your written questions using the chat panel, which is at the bottom right side of your WebEx screen. Please take a moment to locate that now. Once you find the chat panel, make sure you choose Everyone from the drop-down menu. This will ensure we see your question. Don't send your question to an individual panelist. Also, we ask that you do not include any personal or business identifiable information with your questions. Also, in the chat box, we will be sharing throughout the webinar the link to our evaluation. We are very interested in hearing from you how we are doing. My colleagues, Mac, Kira, and Kim, will be monitoring the chat panel. As time allows, we will answer your questions directly through the chat panel, or we will share your question with the presenter to respond to throughout the workshop. If we don't get to all the questions with a response during the webinar, we will post the questions and responses with the webinar materials on the census.gov/academy site within 30 business days. Again, as mentioned before, near the end of the webinar, we'll put into the chat a link to our evaluation so you can tell us how we did today. We hope you'll take the time to complete, as we are always looking for ways to improve our training. As you know, we are in a virtual environment and sometimes technical difficulties might occur. If you are having issues, try a different browser such as Chrome, or consider logging out and coming back into the session. If you are having audio issues, try selecting the computer audio or calling into the webinar via phone. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker, Misty Slater. Thanks again for being here today. Misty, you may begin.
Thank you, Crystal. So as my title slide shows, this is Planning for Community Development, so I hope you're at the right webinar. I am Misty Slater. I'm an Air Force veteran, and I started with the Census Bureau back in 2019 during the decennial census as a media specialist. And then I came back on last year in August in a new role as data dissemination specialist. And this is what we do. We provide training for the population, the public, and businesses, helping them get the data that they need. So here is our slide, our contact info. If you want a training, you can email census.askdata@census.gov, or you can call 1-844-ASK-DATA. Now, you can Even if you just have data questions, you can send them there or call. If you want training, that's the place to go. And then you can go, if you just want to do it on your own, we have Census Academy at the top, or even over here, you can subscribe and you'll get updates to the new training products that we have. And then you can find out our little data gems. They're short videos on how to find whatever data it is that you need to know. They have tons of videos on that. So, and then, we have some courses and webinars, which you are on. This is the agenda for today. Excuse me, my mouth is dry, so I'm going to apologize in advance. I might be taking a lot of water breaks. So since we're doing community development, community planning, I thought, can remote workers impact community planning? I thought that would be a very good hook for this webinar, since it's been a hot topic since the pandemic. We'll go over the Census Bureau's mission and the survey data that we'll be covering with the 3 tools, which are right here. We'll be going to data, census.gov, Census Business Builder, and on the map. And then we're going to work through some exercises. But you know what? Why don't we take a moment and go to your web browsers and let's pull these up. I'm going to hurry and share my screen. Now I do have it where I go on to these sites all the time. So it kind of pops up into my feed really fast. So let's do data.census.gov for one. And then I'm going to open up another one for Census Business Builder. And if you search it, it'll be the second one, but it is cbb.census.gov. And I'm going to leave that just how it is with the blue, excuse me, rectangle. And then I'm going to open 2 for on the map. And it's onthemap.ces.census.gov. I'm going to do 2 of those since we're going to be comparing 2 different geographies. Okay. Now that we have our web browsers open, let's go to the next screen. So a little bit about the Census Bureau. The Census Bureau is actually the largest of the 17 primary federal government statistical agencies. Our mission is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people and economy. What we're best known for is the decennial census, which I hope you guys all responded to in 2020. But we conduct over 130 censuses and surveys of households and businesses across the nation every year. So if you get those in the mail, please respond to them. This includes the American Community Survey and more than 30 other household surveys. And then we also have more than 60 economic programs, with the economic census being the largest and most comprehensive. This brings us back to my question. Can remote workers impact community development? Now, there is a town in Utah that's under 20,000 people, but it's in the top 10 in the United States for remote workers. And then Utah had a few others in the top 100. But this town, under 20,000, is in the top 10. Doesn't really go into why it might be up there, but as we go through this webinar, I'm going to point out some reasons why I believe it is up there. And all these links will be provided as well. Now, here's some other headlines. Oh, you know what? Let me hurry and go back. Oh no, never mind. I'm good. So the daytime population of traditional US job centers plummeted in 2020 because of the pandemic. So this made companies shift to remote work in large segments of the workforce, significantly impacting commuting and consumer spending at restaurants, retail outlets, and the demand for commercial real estate. Research on paid job postings from LinkedIn revealed remote work shot up 457% from 2020 to 2021. Information and professional, scientific, and technical services were among the industries most affected by the switch, while retail, manufacturing, accommodations, food services were the least. eligible for remote. The shift to remote work also pushed down demand for office space. So on the upside, there were fewer commuters on the road, which reduced carbon emissions and resulted in some of the cleanest air cities have seen in years, according to some research that will be linked. The link to those stories will be provided. But these areas that have many of the office workers still working from home are hurting because of the lack of foot traffic. Like the DC mayor wants decisive action on the federal government's return to office plans. And DC mayor, again, your teleworking employees are killing my city. The mayor is calling for the federal government to either bring workers back to the offices or to release the office space so another business can move in, which is imperative for those downtown businesses that rely on the worker foot traffic. This is the data. This is one of the data sets we'll be using, the American Community Survey, which is an annual nationwide household survey with a sample size of 3.5 million households. Again, that's annual. The primary purpose of the ACS is to measure the changing social and economic characteristics of the US population, our education, housing, jobs, and more. So it is designed to provide communities with reliable and timely social, economic, demographic, and housing data. Now, if you want more, if you want to know more about the ACS, I do have links for all data users need to know and what business communities need to know. We're going to be looking at data profiles, and that's what these are right here. Data profiles have the most frequently requested social, economic, housing, and demographic data. Each of these 4 subject areas is a separate data profile. The data profile summarizes the data for a single geographic area, both numbers and percents, to cover the most basic data on all topics. And we will be using 3 today. DPO2, which is selected social characteristics in the US, DPO4, which is selected housing characteristics, and DPO5, ACS demographic and housing estimates. Now, ACS provides this information, this data in different breakdowns. You have your 1 year, your 1 year supplementals, and your 5 year. Now I have the 5 year highlighted because that is what we're going to be using today. And I will explain why. You have your 1 year estimates, and it says data for areas with populations of 65,000 or over. And then you have your 1 year, which says it's for 20,000 or over. Well, both of the geographic areas are less than 20. So that's why I chose the 5 year estimate. And then we have, which estimate is best. So you can see that this gives you, again, if you have a larger population, you're going to probably want to go with the 1 year estimate if your currency is more important, like right then. Where a 5 year precision is more important because you're analyzing 60 months in the 5 year estimate. But again, I'm choosing this one because my population is under 20,000. Then we will be using the LEHD, or the Longitudinal Employer Household Dynamics, which I will be referring to this as LEHD because that is a mouthful. This program is part of the Center of Economic Studies at the US Census Bureau. The LEHD program produces cost-effective public use information combining federal, state, and Census Bureau data on employers and employees. Now, state and local authorities increasingly need detailed local information about their economies to make informed decisions. This partnership works to fill critical data gaps and provide indicators needed by the state and local authorities. States agree to share unemployment insurance earnings data and the quarterly census of employment and wages data with the Census Bureau. And it combines these administrative data, additional administrative data, and data from censuses and surveys. And from these data, the program creates statistics on employment, earnings, and job flows at detailed levels of geography and industry for different demographics. And these are the geographies that we will be using today. So I chose Heber City in Utah, since that is the number 7 town in the United States for remote workers. And then I chose Manassas Park, Virginia, because they're similar in population. Heber City is around close to 17,000. Manassas Park is a little over 17,000. So I thought for this comparative, because if you notice the maps, Heber City has a lot of green, and it's, you have some towns near it, but they're not connected. But then you look at Manassas Park, and they are surrounded by other towns. I mean, I guess other cities, if that's what you want to, cities or towns. I'm going to be using those interchangeably today, but it's in a more urban area. And you have Heber City. It's not completely rural. It's only about 45 miles away from Salt Lake. And then you have Manassas Park, that's about 30 miles away from DC. So they're both kind of a big metro center, but yet Manassas Park is in like the DC metro area, even though it's a town under 20,000. So we will be going and using datacensus.gov. Now, I wanted to also point out that there's some similarities to the 2 cities that I chose, but then you will also see some differences. And both the differences and the similarities will affect how the town's community plans for their future. So I'm I will be using 3 data profiles today, and let's share my screen. Okay, and I'm going to go to datacensus.gov. Now, datacensus.gov is the platform to access demographic and economic data. Now, we can learn about communities throughout the data profiles, and they cover over 100,000 different geographies: state, county, places, tribal areas, zip codes, and congressional districts. For each, we cover topics like education, employment, health, and housing, to name a few. So we are going to click Advanced Search first, and then we're going to go over to the left-hand side. You're going to see the filters. We're going to select Geography, and we're going to click Place. Now I'm going to look up Utah first. Then I'm going to do Heber City, Heber. Click on that. Now I'm done with my geography right now for Heber City. Now I want to go click Surveys. We are going to do the American Community Survey, and again, 5-year estimates and data profiles. Click. We're done with that. Now we'll go back to the left and go to Topics. And we want housing. And then we're going to click the little box for just housing, not housing units. And then we are going to select the most current, which is 2021. Now, I did say that we have 2 geographies, correct? Let's go back up to Geography, click Place again. Now we're going to X that out and do Virginia. And we're going to do Manassas, Manassas, and then we want Park. Well, they call it Park City, but we want Manassas Park City, Virginia. Okay, and that is it. In the bottom right hand, you have that little search box. Click on that. These are the 3 tables that we want to use today. So we have DPO2, DPO4, and DPO5. Social characteristics, housing, and demographic and housing. So let's look at DPO2 first and just give it a little peruse of what information is available. Oh, and one thing, I don't need the percentage of error or the percent margin of error, so I'm going to hurry and show you how to hide it. You click on Hide, and then over to the right, you'll see the boxes. So I'm going to unclick for the margin of error in both towns. And then I'll click Hide again, and then it will be gone. So you have household types, It gives you a whole bunch, gives you just so much information. I'm still pretty blown away at how much information the Census Bureau has and gives out for free. So you have the household types, female householder, no spouse, no partner. You can find all this information out. Whatever you're looking for, pretty sure we have the data. Relationships, how many children, other relatives, non-relatives that are in the households. You have marital status, fertility, grandparents, like grandparents responsible for grandchildren. You can find this out in case your program needs that kind of data. And then you have school enrollment. Well, why would school enrollment ages be important for communities to know? So we have Heber City, and then we have Manassas Park on the right. And population of 3 years are over enrolled. Well, that's 3 years. Let's look at nursery school. Heber City has 486 kids in preschool or nursery school, and Manassas Park has 206. Why are those important numbers to know for either short-term or long-term? Well, you need to know how many kids are coming into your school districts. Well, you need to.
Sorry, Misty.
You're fine.
Yeah, there was a request that if you could make your screen a little bit bigger, and also if you could show again the filters.
Okay,
that would be great.
no problem. My screen, I don't know what it's looking like, but it's as big as it's gonna. I can't enlarge it anymore. It's as big as it's gonna get. But the filters, you can go to the left-hand side. So where you have DPO2, because it's nice and big and bold, a little bit further over, you have filters, and it looks like a funnel. And then you have results. So filters, I'll click on that. We wanted geography, and we wanted to go to place. Place will route you to state first, which would be Utah, and then Heber City, Heber, which is right here. It's showing up in my results. I don't know if you can see it. And then we'll go to surveys, and we'll do 8 American Community Survey. And then we'll click 5-year estimates. And then topics will be housing. And we'll click on the box with housing. And then the years will take 2021. And then we're going to go back to geography, click place, and do Virginia for the state and Manassas Park City, Manassas. Excuse me, Park City. And then that should give you all the filters you need. And you should get these 3 results, DPO2, DPO4, and DPO5. And then I'm going to just minimize my results and then proceed to go. And then you have educational attainment. So you can tell how educated the population is in your town. And then you also have your disability status and where people, residents 1 year ago. It lets you know how many people are staying, how many people have moved in. And then place of birth. Are they native to the area or have they come from a different place or a different state? Citizenship status and languages spoken at home. So again, you can get, this is just one data profile too. And at the very bottom, you have computers and internet usage. Why is that important for remote workers? Well, you need a computer, first of all, right? Most likely. Some people might be able to do it on their phone, but what you really need is a broadband internet subscription, because I definitely have better luck with my broadband doing stuff than not just over my phone. And you can see both towns have pretty high broadband subscriptions. Heber City at 93.8% and Manassas Park at 95.1%. And you have both of them almost the same percentage of households with a computer, over 97%. Okay, I'm going to go back up to the left-hand side and I'm going to click results and I'm going to go click on DPO4 for the housing characteristics. I'm going to minimize that again. And since we're just going over, I'm not going to worry about hiding the margins of error again. I will do that when we're in our questions. So this one shows your housing occupancy, units, and structure. So, and when your houses were built, why is it important for a community to know how many units, housing units that they have, or when they were built? For long-term or short-term, if you notice that you're having a boom, well, that seems like it's short-term, and that you might, if you haven't before, you might want to start planning now on your housing issue before you run into a housing crisis, depending on how many vacant rooms you have. I know Denver, let's see, I want to say it was back in 2014, the planners of Denver did not realize that a tech boom was coming to the town and found themselves a little bit in a housing shortage. And Colorado Springs is also having some kind of a boom, and they are putting up apartment buildings really fast. So I don't know if the boom is like a bigger boom is coming, or if they're just planning ahead. But this data will show you as well, like how many houses, how old are your houses? Are they really old? Well, they maybe, you don't want to have a failing infrastructure, right? You don't want your houses to be falling apart. You want them to be relatively, not saying that old houses fall apart. I had one from the late 1800s and it was solid. But it's just something to keep in the back of your minds of the aging of your buildings. And then it shows you how many of the total housing units, how many rooms that they have, total rooms. And then it breaks it down by bedrooms. How long owner occupied, renter occupied, so you know about how many units are owned and how many are rented. I mean, even vehicles available at the house, what kind of heating fuel houses use. So again, this is all towards the housing demographics. And again, it also tells you, housing units with a mortgage, without a mortgage. And then what the median rent is. Why would it be important to know what your rent is? Well, if you notice that your rent is creeping up, that might be because you have more people coming in and not as much housing. Let's see, that's the end. Okay, we're going to go and review. And don't worry, you're going to get more review with these, okay? I'm just kind of going over, giving you a little overview of what each file shows. And then we will do an exercise together, and then I will let you do a couple questions on your own. So don't fret, not to worry. We will go through this together. And then ACS demographics, DP05. This shows sex and age. So then you have your ages broken down by male and female, how many people in the ages. So you have it all broken down to 85 years and over. Now, why is it important to know if you have an aging population? Do you have enough nursing homes? Do you have enough medical care facilities for these people who will be needing it in the near future, let's say? So that would be a wise thing to check out, just to see where you're at in your area, how old your population is. Because we do know that we have an older population, we are living longer. It's important to prepare for. You have your races, even broken down by tribal, Asian, Native, Hawaiian, people who are more than one race, Hispanic and Latino. And then you have your citizens voting age population. That's important to know for voting polls. Do you have enough? Are they nearby? Are they accessible for people to get out and be able to vote without an issue? Okay. Now let me see. Let me stop. Okay. Okay. So we're going to answer this question together before you guys go off into your own. We're going to answer which town has more people with a bachelor's degree or higher. And which data profile should we use for this? So let's think about it. So we have 3 data profiles, right? One is a housing characteristic. One is the demographic in housing. And then one is, what is that? Social characteristics. I'm going to get social characteristics. I'm thinking that's where education was. And if I'm wrong, I have the other 3 tables pulled up. that I can go back to. This is not meant to be overwhelming. I do want you to be able to understand this when I'm done, and I'm hoping that you can do this on your own. I'm hoping I did a well enough job. So we went down and we have what? Educational attainment. Okay. So we can see what the population's education level is. And if we go down, you know what? I'm going to hurry and hide the margin of errors so I can see the numbers better. Okay. And, excuse me, so bachelor's degrees. Well, we have 3,407 for Heber City, and then we have 2,865 for Manassas Park City. So Manassas Park City has the lower number and Heber City has the higher number. So it's right there. Again, I have it highlighted on the screen as well. Now, why would that be important to know? Well, if we go back to the beginning where when I was going through what jobs were able to, be more remote workers, that would be your information, your IT, media, communications. They saw a huge uprise in numbers working from home. Those jobs all require a bachelor's degree or higher. Now, I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to answer these two questions. What town has more vacant housing? And which town has the largest population under 5 years old? Now remember, in our last question, I showed you DPO2, and we have 2 other data profiles to use for these questions, so that should help you out a little bit. And again, I don't want to make this overwhelming. You have 10 minutes to do this, and we will be back soon. We are at the bottom of the test. If you still need more time, I did allot 10 minutes. Just could you let us know in the chat just to make sure? I don't want to shortchange anybody. But at the same time, if everybody got this, then we can move along.
See, I'm sorry, this is Kim on your panel again. Could you just real quick one more time repeat the 2 towns and the specific question? Do you want that percentage or that estimate? Yeah.
You know what? I was doing the numbers, but the numbers. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. So it would be Heber City, and I should have put this up. Thank you. I apologize. So Heber City, Utah, Heber City, Utah, and then Manassas Park, Manassas Park, Virginia. Those are the two towns. Okay. Sorry to hear, Rebecca, that you missed the first part. You would need to go to datacensus.gov, and then you would search in your filters. You would click geography, and you would do Heber City, Utah, Heber, and then you would want to click place first, and then it will come up with the state. You'll click Utah, and you'll type in Heber City and click the box. And then you're going to go over and click survey, and then you're going to hit ACS, the American Community Survey, and you're going to want the 5-year estimate. And then the topics will be housing, and then it will have 2 little boxes, and you want to click housing, not housing units. And then the years, you're going to want 2021. And then go back up to geography, and then you'll select place again, and then type in Virginia, and then Manassas Park. And you'll click on Manassas Park City. And then that will get you to the page that I was on it'll show you the 3 data tables, DPO2, DPO4, and DPO5. And then it will show you the 2 towns, and it will have like 4 columns per town that will show you the number and the margin of error.
Misty, there was one other question. That if you could just answer, what would be the difference between using the data profiles and the detailed tables, and what would be your preference?
You know, that's a good question, and I'm not 100% sure because I cannot remember what the detailed profiles were because I was focusing on data profiles. Kim, do you happen to have a good answer to that?
Okay, yeah, I'll put a link in the chat where you can find the difference between the tables that we use, in particular for the ACS. But the data profiles are really high level, kind of overarching those social characteristics, economic characteristics, demographic and housing characteristics. And the detail tables are just what they say. They're going to be either your subject or your base tables, and they're going to get into the weeds about each subject. So what you'll see in those detail tables are things like the subject veterans. You can get the specific details about the veterans. For example, when they served in the military and their employment, their education, you get more details into those detail tables, where the profiles are a high level, give you that starting point for the subjects. But if you really want to get into the weeds, I would go into those detail tables about a particular subject. Does that answer your question?
That sounds great to me. That makes perfect sense too. Detailed tables giving you more details of the topics. Okay, so our 10 minutes is up, and let's look at the questions again. What town has more vacant housing? Sorry, I wanted the number, not the percentage. And then what town has the greatest number under the age of 5? So let me share my screen again. Ooh, second. Okay. And share. Okay, it didn't share. Hold on. There we go. Let's click the right thing. There we go. Okay. So we wanted, let's see, let's go back to our results. So we know we used DPO2 for the question that we went through. So more vacant housing. I'm guessing that would be underneath the DPO4, which is selected housing characteristics. Click. Or click. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to hurry and hide these so I can see these better. Let me move my little screen out of the way. Just give me a second. There we go. Okay. Now, vacant housing. Oh, well, look at it's right up there. So you have housing occupancy, total housing units, and then vacant housing units. Heber City has 292. Manassas Park has 304. So Manassas Park has not many more, but they have a little bit more vacant houses than Heber City. And, you know, it's important to kind of know how many vacant housing units you have for people coming in. Also, vacant housing can also attract undesirables coming in, like teenagers having parties. So it's good to know kind of like how many vacant housing units you do have in your area for both. And then let's see, our next question was, what town has the largest percentage under 5? So we're going to go, that has demographic and housing. We're going to click on DPO5. And under the age of 5, well, we have Heber City at 1,603. And I did not hide those. Let me scan over here. And then we have Manassas Park at 1,147. So we have Heber City has the largest population. Now, again, why is that important? Schools. Schools are important. Daycare are important. And the filters that we used was we did the geography for Manassas Park, Virginia, and Heber City. And then we chose the American Community Survey 5-year estimate. And then we chose the topic as housing and clicked the little box under housing, not the housing units, just the housing. And then we clicked the year 2021, and that will get you those 3 data profiles, data profile 02, 04, and 05. Now we get to go on to our next tool, Census Business Builder. The Census Business Builder contains demographic data from the American Community Survey. You're going to hear American Community Survey a lot today, so it's a very in-depth survey that we do. So it has a lot of data and we use it in a lot of different places. It is updated annually in December, and the economic data that goes into it, that comes from the county business patterns and non-employer statistics, is updated annually in June. And then it also incorporates data from the economic census and the census of business owners, and that is updated every 5 years because those are done every 5 years. Now you're going to know, you can see right here, this is, for some reason, Wasatch County, Utah. This is just an example, but you see NA. You're going to see NA for some things, depending on if the information it can be displayed, sampling size, or if it's a Title per 13. Oh man, I cannot say that word today. Privacy regulation. But it is like a one-stop shopping for all your demographic and economic data needs. Now we are going to go to Census Business Builder on my browser. And let me try and move this out of the way so I can get there. Okay. Now I have had a couple issues with just putting the location in. So let's see if this works. Now, also, if you're not accustomed to Census Business Builder, if you're new to it, you can also take the tour later on. And it'll walk you through all the neat aspects of Census Business Builder and how to use it. So I'm going to search up Heber City first. See if it pops up, because it was before and it wasn't before. Let's see. Let's try. Let me try refreshing it. Sometimes that works too. The whole site. Let's do. Doesn't happen often, but I have had it. There we go. Heber City popped up for me in the blue box. So I'm going to click Heber City. Now you see at the top, you have custom industries, total population, and I'm going to click the custom industries at the top. And you are going to see when I click the blue box, add industries, construction, food service, healthcare, personal services, professional and biz services, and retail. And then they all have subfolders, basically. So you have all these different jobs under construction, and then food service, same with healthcare. So they cover, I believe, almost every job that we could possibly have. For today, I'm just going to click restaurants and fast foods. And then I'm going to click over here. Now you have the middle one is, it has total population as your primary variable, and then you can add a second variable. So I'm going to leave the total population demographic underneath the primary. And then for the second, I'm just going to do business annual and do all employers. Now again, we're dealing with 2 towns underneath 20,000 population. So we're not going to see everything. But this gives you the total population, the little dashboard. It gives you towns that are nearby or in the same state of what their population's like, your homeowner, your percent, whether high school degree or higher, and your median income. And then down in the left-hand side, you're going to have click report. And then you can see that it gives you consumer resident information, demographic, socio, and housing. That gives it to you a little bit differently than datacensus.gov. Now, this information also is, they'll show you in some areas, they'll compare 2 5-year estimates. 2011, 15 to 2016 and 2020. So it gives you the information where they get each section. So that's kind of nice to know. And I do understand some of these sites seem like they have different years that they use different estimates from. And just know though that some of these sites are being updated with the most current information. It's just a lot of data, so it takes a little bit of time. So you have your different demographic breakdown, and then you can come down and you can see your socioeconomic, and it gives you percentages and stuff. So it kind of, gives you the same information that datacensus.gov did, but then you can click and get a little bit of a different view. You can see how it compares to the state or the city or the United States, sorry. You have just a whole bunch of different information. And then you also have the housing characteristics, same things. You can scan down, you can see home ownership rate. And then now the business data, again, they're not showing for a variety of reasons. It could be that the sample size was too small. Could be that the sample size of those businesses were too small in that area. But you can always go and search like a larger area for that. Like for Heber City, Utah, I would look up Wasatch County. But you do have building permits, and it does show you how many houses, like how many permits they have out at this during 2020 from the building permit survey. Again, it's nice. They tell you where the information comes from. So you can see if you have any permits built or pulled in that area during those times. And it gives you a little bit of the business totals. Some of them you have, some of them you don't. Again, because of the sampling size or privacy or just not enough of those industries in that area. Okay, we're going to leave this up and we're going to go back because it should have opened into a new page for you. But we're going to go back to the original tab, Census Business Builder. And now we're going to put in Manassas Parks. Okay. It's not going to want to do it this time. Let's try this. Okay, let me hurry and refresh this real fast, see if it will do it then. There we go. Okay, now you see Manassas Park City here is a county and a city. I click the city town, Manassas Park City underneath. We're going to leave the same variables up that are up at the top. We don't even have to touch that because I want to compare them. Then we're going to go to the bottom left, click report, and same information in here too, but this is just for Manassas Park. So now that we have both of these up, we're going to go to the first question that we're going to do together. Now this is going to be in percentage because Census Business Builder is showing us percentage in the majority of the stuff. Which city has a smaller percentage of residents with healthcare coverage? Oh, let's take a look, shall we? Healthcare coverage. Okay, so I'm on Manassas Park City first, since that was what I left off on. That's not going to be demographic, maybe socioeconomic. Let's look. We have percent in poverty, employed, disabled. Healthcare coverage. So Manassas Park has 82.3% of their population that has healthcare coverage. Let's look at Heber City. Now, let me go back up. Sorry, don't want to make anybody dizzy. Socioeconomic characteristics. And we're going to need to go up. Healthcare coverage, 92.8%. So we know that Heber City has more of a coverage than Manassas Park. Why is that important? Well, if you have more people, not having health care, maybe you need to bring in some free clinics or find some viable, way to help those people. Or at least you know that there are X amount of percentage of people in your community that do not have health care. And that's an important thing to know. I mean, if a worker gets hurt and they don't have health care, well, are they going to be able to make it back in a timely manner? It might take longer for them to get, sorry, I need to take a drink of water. It might take them longer just to recover if they don't have health care services. Okay, we're not going to do 10 minutes for this. Let's do a few minutes. Let's try a few minutes. So which town has a longer commute? You know what? For time purposes, let's walk through these real fast together. So we have which town has a longer commute time and which town has more remote workers. So a longer commute time. I'm going to go back and share. So let's see, the commute time, we're going to scan down. Oh, look at that. We have people over 16 who commute underneath healthcare. And then percentage of work from home, average travel time to work. That's what we want. The average travel time to work for Heber City is 19.7 minutes. Okay. Now remember, Heber is a smaller town, not with a whole bunch of towns around it. Then you look at Manassas Park in the next tab over, and you have a 41.5-minute commute. It's almost double what Heber, or even over double what Heber City is. But if you remember the geographies, Heber City has a lot more green space around it, where Manassas Park is in an urban area. So that would be important to remember also for, emergency management. How many people do you have staying in your town? And if a disaster happens, you kind of need to know how much population there are to get through it. So again, Manassas Park. Oop. We didn't look at the second answer, did we? No, we did not see that. Let's go back to my screen. I am so sorry. I forgot about that. So now we have the percentage that has more remote workers. So we're on Manassas Park. Manassas Park has 7.7%. And you can see down here that they still have a lower percentage than the US or just even the state of Virginia combined. And then Heber has 8.3%. Now granted, this is from the 2016 to 2020 ACS 5-year estimates. I'm figuring that those are a little bit higher since, we went through the pandemic and we know that a lot of us are still working remotely. Okay, now we can go to the answer page. So those are the answers. And again, the information, all the links and stuff to this to get you to the answers is going to be included in this or in the chat. Okay. So CBB, just remember it's easy. Once you pick out whatever your variables are, you hit create report and it brings it up in another tab. So you can just go back and forth between those tabs if you're going through multiple. Now we have on the map. Now on the app we went over the LEHD, where the information where it comes from. On the map is easy to use. It's web-based mapping reporting application that enables you to use the LEHD data set. Now, showing where people work and where workers live. It's important so, towns and everything can see the mapping of the travel patterns for workers and identifying small area workforce characteristics. It's a useful resource. So they can so communities can map the travel patterns. Excuse me. But here's all the information that we have in it, access and visualizing the jobs and labor force data, when it began. Some states don't participate. So if you're looking for Mississippi, Arkansas, Kansas, Alaska, and Puerto Rico, you will not find data on this. Here are some of the information, some of the questions you can answer. Where do the workers live? Are they coming in to your town for a job, or do they live in your town and are going elsewhere for a job? how many workers earn more than $3,333 a month. And now, let's see. So we have, let's go and share my screen. Content. Share. Okay. In just a second, I'll get off this and we're going to go to, Mary, move this over. Ooh, on the map. Okay. Pretty simple looking. Now you're going to see that the 2019 data is now available. They are updating that. Again, it's just a lot of information that they have to input, and it should be done by the fall. So we're going to do Heber City first. Okay, and then we're going to click search. And then you see how it breaks it down. States, no results. So we want Heber City, Utah under places. And then you see this little box. It tells you about how big the town is. So this is 8.865 square miles. Not points, sorry. And then you click the perform analysis on selection area. And then it gives you the census blocks too. That's kind of interesting to know in case how small you want to look for your data. If you want to look down into your town, you can look at the census blocks. We're going to select home for this search. And then at the bottom of the second analysis type, we're going to do inflow and outflow. 2019 is already selected, and we're going to click on all jobs and hit go. Now here, it gives you these three different colors, a dark green, a light green, and a medium green. And then over here, to the right, right top, it gives you the inflow and outflow of jobs. So the dark green means that there are 4,319 people that live outside that are coming into the area, to the city limits that are highlighted in yellow. Then you have 1,921 people who live and work in that town, right in the town area. And then you have 6,668 people who live in this area but are employed elsewhere. Well, where are they employed? Are they commuting? Or are they working from home? Which again, is an important question for emergency services. And then down here, it breaks it down into numbers as well. You know, if the chart, the Venn diagram isn't your thing, it shows you the number that are employed in the area and everything that the Venn diagram shows you as well. So since I said we needed 2 screens up for this, let's go to on the map, the second screen, or the second browser tab, and then we're going to do Manassas. We're going to click search. And again, you see Manassas Park come up twice. We don't want the county, we want the place. So we're going to click on Manassas Park City under the places. And again, you can see all these roads and everything outside of the city boundaries. So you know it's in a more urban area, way more urban area than Heber City is. Perform analysis on selection area. Oh, also look at the size of this town. It's 2,525 square miles and 146 census blocks. So it's significantly smaller than Heber in size. And that just, it's been around for a lot longer and it's landlocked. It can't grow. We're going to click on inflow and outflow and all jobs and go. So you can see it shows you the same thing, gives you the size, and you can tell it's far smaller than, it's far smaller in size than Heber City is. And it also gives you the inflow and outflow. So you have 7,663 people who live in here, but they go somewhere else for their job. And then you have 465 that live and work in the area. And then you have 3,935 who come into Manassas Park to work, but they don't live there. I'm going to go ahead and show you on the same page. I'm going to go up to the left hand and hit start. And I'm going to click on Manassas Park City again. And then I'm going to hit perform analysis on selection area again. This time, we are looking underneath the analysis type for distance and direction. Everything else stays the same, and we're going to click Go. Now, this is going to show us the commute, which direction people are commuting in when they're leaving Manassas Park, where are they going, and then you can see it in a radar chart, or if a bar chart is more, you're suited for a bar chart better, you can switch and look at it this way. And then it also tells you down at the bottom right, the distance. How long is the commute? Less than 10 miles, and it gives you the breakdown of the total jobs and then how many jobs are commuting X amount of miles away. So the most is 10 to 24 miles. Well, that sounds about right if you think about what metro area Manassas Park is near. DC is about 30 miles away. Okay, I'm going to hurry and stop sharing. And let's go to the next screen. Okay. So our question, which city has less people living and working in the city? Ooh, let's go back. So we just saw the two different kinds, the two different maps. We saw the one that has the inflow and the outflow, and then we have one that shows the directions. So since this one's not an inflow or outflow, I'm going to hurry and go back. Click Start, Places, Manassas Park, Perform Selection, and then I'm going to hit Inflow and Outflow, so both towns are on the same map. Okay. So we have Manassas Park, and remember the big circle is everybody who lives there and works there. That's 465. Well, then we have Heber at 1,921. So Heber has more. So Manassas Park City has less people living and working in the city. Again, need to know how many people are leaving your town and how many people are coming into your town to be prepared for an emergency, and roads. Which way is everybody going? And we'll get to that question in a minute, but it's important to know how many people are staying in within your boundaries. So they have over 4,000 coming in and about 2,000 staying, and they have almost 4,000 coming in and less than 500 staying. So it's important to know. It's just one of those things, right? It's important to know. Okay, let's see. I'm going to give you, let's try 3 minutes. If you don't get them, you don't get them. And then I'm going to walk through these with you anyway. So you're going to want to answer which town out of Heber City, Utah, and Manassas Park, Virginia. And hopefully you still have those on the map tools up. You're going to need to, let's see. You'll have to either use the inflow or outflow map or the direction map, the one that shows you which direction that they are moving in. And if you have a question on how to get there again, just put it in the chat and I'll hurry and go back and show you. So we'll just have a few minutes starting now. We're going to use home for all the searches. Okay. We are up on time. Now I'm going to hurry and show you the answer screen first, and then I'll hurry and walk you through it. So we have which town has more total jobs, and in which direction are your workers traveling to from Manassas Park and for Heber City. So the town that has the more total jobs is Heber City. And then we have that Manassas Park, people who are commuting from Manassas Park are going northeast, and then people in Heber City majority of them are traveling northwest. Well, we know northeast for Manassas Park is DC, and northwest for Heber City is Salt Lake. So they are going to the bigger areas, the bigger metropolitan areas for work. Hurry and go and share my screen so I can hurry and show you these. So we want place and then perform analysis selection. And then I want the distance and direction. Go. And then I'm going to go to my other tab and hurry and just get my other town, Manassas Park, under places. I'm going to get them on the same page and go. So the answers, you can see that the total job distance down in this area, 8,128. And then if we go and look at Heber City, they have 8,589. And then looking at the radar chart, you can see they're heading northwest, the majority of them by it a lot. And then you have Manassas Park City that a lot are going north and northeast, but more are going northeast. And that's still north. There's still towns up there that are considered the DC metro area. I mean, if you've ever been to that area, you know what I'm talking about. It is just towns for miles, and you don't know really where the break is unless you see a sign saying entering Woodbridge. So you have a lot more jobs up north and northeast because it is a metropolitan urban area. And then so that's how you can do that, and also look at the bar chart. Let me stop. Okay, a quick thing I just wanted to show is we also have an annual business survey, and it's conducted annually, and the information is right here. I didn't want to touch on it very much. What I really wanted to touch on is that they just put this infographic out last week, and it shows 2019, 2020, and 2021. And it's the percentages, and it's broken down by demographic. So in 2019, you see that the employees allowed to work from home is pretty small compared to people that are not. And of course, in 2020, we understand a huge jump in all of them. They all went up that one went up over 10 percentage points, but yet all of them almost doubled, it looks like. And then you see 2021, where they're still higher, considerably higher for the most part than they were in 2019. It looks like a trend that is going to keep going from here. And also this link will be provided for you for your information. Now, can remote workers impact community development? The answer is definitely yes. You know, industries are looking into new business models such as virtual workspaces to remain relevant. The shift to the new normal of remote work has far-reaching implications across a variety of areas. So, for example, recent results from the American Community Survey show that public transportation share of total commuting fell from 5% in 2019 to 2.5% in 2021, which is the lowest percentage of workers commuting by public transportation that has ever been recorded by the ACS. That's a 2-year difference, 5% to 2.5%. It was cut in half. Well, that's important to know if you have public transportation and you're wondering why it's down. You just have more remote workers in the area, which you're going to kind of need to know. Are they going to be going back to their jobs, or are they going to be staying at home? Surveys have also shown that more Americans are considering relocating to more affordable or convenient U.S. cities or regions amid growing acceptance of remote work. Surveys also shows workers expect workplace adaptations to stick because flexible schedules and reduced commute times outweigh challenges of isolation and longer hours. A hybrid model is ideal for some people and for some companies, and a lot more people are hoping that that's what their companies choose. Again, you're going to still need to know how many people are commuting, how many people are staying at home, you know, even just for road maintenance. So did we meet our objectives? I really hope so. So we went over the American Community Survey, which shows commuting and workplace data. Oh, and LEHD. And then they can be used to answer questions about spatial, economic, demographic questions relating to workplaces and home to workflows. As you saw on the map, they showed you which way your people are going, in what direction they were commuting, and how many were there. And again, I know on the map is a little outdated with the data. It's still good data to use as a reference point and to build up upon. And again, that will be updated by fall. And then we showed you how to use the 3 tools, datacensus.gov, Census Business Builder, and On the Map, and the surveys that those 3 tools pull their data from. Here are some more useful links that you can peruse at your leisure. It's about remote working, like how to have the shift, how some cities are dealing with it. And I found them useful. I used these when I was reading up on remote workers, and I thought you might need them. I'm sorry for the link overload. I'm originally a journalist, and when we write articles for the website, you put links in, it gives you more, credibility and more information to back up your story. So if you please could fill out the survey, it helps us provide better and more useful trainings in the future. My name is Misty Slater, and I can be reached at misty.d.slater@census.gov. And then we also have the census.askdata at census.gov. If you have any questions or you need data training, census.askdata@census.gov is the email you want. I cover Utah, but if you reach out to me and you have a question about your area and it's not mine, I will put you in contact with the data dissemination specialists who cover your area. Thank you for being on this webinar with me today. I really hope that it didn't overwhelm you. I know the data can be overwhelming, and I hope you find it useful in your community planning needs.
Great. Thank you very much, Misty, for this excellent webinar. Before we conclude, I'd like to thank everyone who played a role in today's webinar, and also, of course, thank you to you, our audience, for spending your time with us this afternoon. Please take a moment to fill out the evaluation by following the link provided in the chat, and look out for the recording and PowerPoint from this workshop on the Census Academy by visiting census.gov/academy. That brings us to a close, so we thank you again and hope you have a great afternoon.
This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for your participation. You may disconnect at this time.